Hello and welcome to the Varietal Show. We have quite a few things to do today, so I'm not going to dwell too much. But basically what this is a Thursday night show that takes place on the Varietal Literature YouTube page, which is a group of writers from Vancouver who, just enjoy writing. And we do live writing. If you are not watching this live, though, down in the description below will be timestamps to jump ahead to like major events in the stream. Runs for about an hour. It's a good kind of background thing. Or if you want, you can join in the chat and help us write. And what we're doing tonight is we are using a prompt. I think every writer sooner or later gets a book like this. And I'll give a little more details about it in a second, but we're using a prompt and we're going to try and write some short fiction like we always do, and do a little bit more classic, just trying to put together a story as quick as possible. They usually wind up very sort of dumb and fun and silly. I see GS is in the chat, says good evening. Hello, GS. And like I said, we got a lot to do, so I'm actually going to get to it and not waste anybody's time. We're going to do something we don't always do, which is I am returning to a section called Left on Read. What is Left on Read? Left on Read is where I talk about books that I left on read, in other words, that I read and liked, and I recommend them to you. It's not just books, but this week it is a book. And there's a very specific reason why I'm recommending this book. So if you normally tune out during this time or are busy, I ask that you pay attention for just a moment. The book that I am recommending this week is a book called The Broken Places by Frances Peck. Now, I've recommended The Broken Places on here before. I think I got the name wrong. But, sorry, Frances. But I actually know Frances. She's not like a really close friend of mine or anything like that. I don't want to oversell it, but she taught me a lot of editing and in a class, and so we got along pretty well, I thought. And we still talk somewhat regularly on Twitter, where she has a bit of a presence. And she's a writer from Vancouver. And the reason why I'm recommending this book, specifically this week, is next Wednesday. That's right, Wednesday, not Tuesday, not Thursday, not our usual nights, because I'm running out of nights where this stuff will fit. We're going to start a limited series of the Big Vancouver Book Club, which will be, we read a certain portion of a book, myself, and the very lovely and lit degree possessing Avalon, who is one of the most voracious readers I have ever read. And we will discuss a certain portion of the book. At this point, keep an eye on our Twitter, which is at varietal_lit, or our Instagram, which is the same, at varietal_lit, for the specifics on how many pages we're reading for the first week. But just basically get Frances Peck's book, or go to the library if you can. I believe it is at some libraries. It's a fairly new release, though. And read at least the first 100 pages. I know that's at least how many we're going to do. It kind of breaks into 4 acts, the book, and it's fairly clearly structured. I just don't have the page numbers at the moment, and I haven't had a chance to finalize everything, but I am very excited for it. So that'll be Wednesday night at 6:30. I'm not sure how long it'll be. It's a book club. I'm hoping it'll be on the shorter side so we can chat about it, but people don't feel too committed. But keep an eye out for that, because we're going to do a book club. And after that, I think, unless there is a problem, I think we'll do one other book. We do have another book on our horizon from another sort of friend of ours. So Broken Places, you can get lots of places. You can get it from like Chapters. You can get it from local bookstores if you're in Vancouver in particular. But if you can't get it any of there, you can just get it right on an e-reader or something like that. It's widely available. I'm putting it out there. You should actually get The Broken Places from Frances Peck. Read at least the first 100 or so pages. And then be back here Wednesday at 6:30 to join in the discussion that Avalon and I will have about it for the Big Vancouver Book Club. And that is my left on red. recommendation, which is a different one. So I hope to see at least some of you there. I know not all of you, that is your jam, but I think we'll have interesting discussions. And be clear, it's not just me, Avalon, talking. Whoever comes into the chat is welcome to join in and offer their own insights and thoughts, and we'll address them just like you are in our big book club. So, with that said, that takes us to our star attraction, the thing that most people come here for, and that is, of course, Lit Games. Now, Lit Games stands for Literature Games, and what that is a where we kind of do something sort of under pressure, I guess, around writing, whether it's being silly and trying to write stuff, or whether it's like I'm trying to write stuff like we did a couple of weeks ago where Chad is throwing in stuff to kind of mess me up, and then I have to fulfill the challenge before I can continue the story. Like everything in the sentence has to be alliterative or whatever else. Like we just do kind of silly, challenging things, basically just to have fun with writing. And so what we're doing tonight is pretty straightforward. I have a book here that there's like so many versions of these. This one is 642 stories to write. And what it is it's basically mostly blank pages where you get these little prompts. Like the president has a secret phobia. All 5 sisters showed up at the funeral. Your character isn't too much to look at. His voice is like a rusty wheel, but he has the most beautifully scented breath in the world. Like it's just sort of oddities and such. And then the idea is when you need ideas, you can sort of sketch out your additions onto that sentence and create something. GS says, I don't have a lit degree. Will I be able to keep up? Absolutely. You'll be able to keep up. What matters most is what you feel and think about a story at a book club. I just meant that Avalon will definitely bring some depth to it I might not. I'm just a reader. Oh, I see Holly's house here. So, hello, Holly's house. Okay, so we're going to use some prompts depending on how quick things go or slow things go. We might just use the one prompt that is in the description of this video and is the icon of this video, which is it wasn't easy having an extra body part. And we have to determine what that body part is. So I know there is temptation to go, as the kids say, blue, but I'm not going to do that with the extra body part. But with that said, chat, my first question to you is, what do you think our extra body part should be? It could be anything, right? It could be like an extra nose in the back of your head. I remember, I don't know if I just dreamed this, but I swear it's a real book. I remember this investigative series of children's book where the girl had an eye on the end of her finger. That was the whole premise. And she could look under doors and things like that. And I'm sure I didn't dream it. I'm sure it's a real thing. But there's an example of an extra body part. Yeah, I mean, it could be an extra arm, extra leg, whatever else. It could be terrifying body horror, or it could be silly young adult fiction. But we're going to write as much of a little story as we can about that. And yeah, that is what we're doing today. So hopefully you guys are interested in a little bit of storytelling. That was a lot of talking off the top, so I need to hit my water. Sorry, I forgot to mute it. Water ASMR. GS says, Holly, extra body parts are your specialty. And then Holly's house says, why are extra body parts my specialty? Yeah, I have that question myself. Okay, so it wasn't easy having an extra body part here. I mean, what do we have? We have fingers, we have mouths, we have ears, eyes, a full-on torso, legs, toes, arms. I think that might be about it. Butts. You could have the story of a person with 2 butts. You see, like, that's funny. but I don't really see where I can go with that. It's not that intrusive. At most, we'd be talking about how weird clothes fit. GS says Emily Eyefinger. Is that its name? Okay. I mean, I gotta check. I have to check. There's Emily Eyefinger. There it is. It's a series of children's book written by Duncan Ball. They are about a girl who was born with an eye on the end of her finger. Oh my god. I can't believe this was a real thing. Absolutely insane what people will show children. Okay. Let's go with Holly's House says, I was thinking of a ring foot. Like the foot goes all the way around an ankle in a circle with toes all the way around. All right. Ring foot it is. What a horrifying image. It wasn't easy having a splayed foot like a many-toed suction cup. Hello, Jenna. It's great to see you here. So we're already into body horror, Jenna. Blame Holly's House. Okay, so it wasn't easy having a splayed foot, like a many-toed suction cup. I know what you're thinking, because I've heard it all before. Now, chat, the next thing, just to give you a little more insight into, like, how do I do this and what kind of thoughts I'm thinking about, I got to think about a conflict that is related to this that can be overcome by this. Like, that's kind of the thing about stories of body horror or malfunction or whatever else, right? Like, it starts as a problem, creates an issue, and then the character overcomes it. And you want something relatively small and contained, because we're doing stuff here. Oh my god. Jenna says extra teeth in places that shouldn't have teeth is always creepy. It's very creepy. I know what you're thinking, because I've heard it all before. So spare me. But I guess I should paint a better picture. The front of my step. Front of my left foot is like any other foot. It has 5 toes. A bridge. And an arch. But it doesn't... Actually, let me move that order. Except where the pinky and big toe end. The toes continue. I never in my life thought I would ever write the sentence, the toes continue. Okay. They run a broad circle around my ankle. They ripple like jellyfish tentacles when I wiggle them. The back, sides, front, and every angle away from my ankle. On my left side is a foot. Jenna says this is horrifying. GS says gross, Rory. Yes, the rippling was what I was trying to describe. Holly's house says. Jenna has dubbed this truly cursed. What kind of curse? Is that what it's going to be? Let's make it a curse. And let's make it, I know what I'm going to do. Now you might wonder, what kind of nuclear waste or genetic anomaly did it take to create me? Good old suction foot. The truth is, I wasn't born this way. No, but I was born with a need to sass. Who in chat was born with a need to sass? I'm writing things I've never, ever said in my life. I said it would mute it last time and it didn't. More water ASMR. Sorry for those who are squeamish. The truth is, I wasn't born this way. No, but I was born with a need to sass. And that is where our story begins. I was a prolific online provocateur. Anyone who needed some perspective on their own self-importance. Who's going to be the villain of this piece? Chat, what do you think? I mean, villains can be anything, but like, I think we need an actual villain here. I'm kind of going for like an actual curse angle here. Been reading a lot of fairy tales lately. I mean, we just read on Tuesday a fairy tale. If you guys were not watching, we read a fairy tale on Tuesday. You should go back and watch it. It's the first fairy tale. So if you haven't watched it, like, pause the video, go back. It's called the horny woman of Finnish folk tales, in brackets, no, not that kind. Or no, get it? They're horned. They have horns. Anyways, which involves a woman, spoiler alert, who has horns being beat with a piece of a birch stick by essentially Jesus until she bleeds to cure her of her horns. So like, I kind of have curses on the brain, and I feel like old Suction Foot should be a curse for being an internet troll. So who is the person that cursed them, and what do you think is going to take to uncurse them? Holly's House says, my preoccupation with this live stream has caused me to leave the house without my glasses. Hey man, just get a stick, and as you're driving, just have it out front of the car, and you know, whatever, you'll be fine. Okay, I was a prolific online provocateur. Anyone who needed some perspective on their own self-importance, I was there to gift it to them with lol, you mad bro memes. GS says, an online app owner named Clark Big Guy. Holly's House says, no, it's worse than that. I'm trying to walk my dogs. Whatever. I mean, any time's a good time for a dog to become a guide dog. I was there to gift it to them with lol you mad bro memes. Unfortunately, when the newest app... Oh, sorry. Let's get rid of the unfortunately. I was a pioneer of my craft. When the first tweets were sent, I was in the replies saying, this place is kind of dead, actually. Lol. We're getting into some deep internet culture here. So if you don't know what's going on, I apologize. When the first vines were sung out into the void, I was the responding kinda pitchy bro comment. And when the TikTok competitor... What's a TikTok competitor name? I'm gonna mute the mic this time for my water, so no water ASMR. If you were a fan of the water ASMR, let me know in the comments. We'll start a poll. We'll motivate engagement on whether people want to listen to me drink water. Bing bong? Broho? Bruha? Broho is good. Not good, but good for like what it's trying to do, which is be like a trendy name. And when the TikTok competitor, we're going with Broho, unless I see something else. This is easy enough for me to change. The TikTok competitor Broho came out, I was in the comments of the founder first. GS. Oh, that's so good. GS says, but it was my comment on a poster's cankles that sealed my fate. You know what? I feel like there should be one more ho. Like, almost like a pirate thing. Bro ho ho. Holly's House says there's that Be Real app. Is that a real thing? Somebody called an app Be Real? Okay. Let's go. Where was it? Clark Big Guy. That's whatever. Found his first comment. In the founder's first post. Wait. In the founder. Of the founder. Okay. I was in the comments of the founder's first post. Saying, nice cankles. Bro, no. I didn't think much of it. It was just my craft. But alas, I received a DM. I guess I should spell it out. It's good practice in writing. A direct message. From Clark Big Guy. The founder, who just said, may all your days oh god, it should be a little rhyme, shouldn't it? It always is a little rhyme. May all your days pave way. Have splayed legs until you see the air, until you correct the air of your ways. I muttered it to myself, but nothing more of it, and awoke with a horrifying mass of toes on my suction cup foot. Do we want to keep this story going, guys? Or do we want to try a different prompt? Like, I'm okay with either. I feel like it is possible that we just say that's the lesson. And we can say, like, and now I know, you know, the mockery I received it taught me whatever. Or we could try to push it, like, it could be like superhero section 5. How's the chat feeling? Do we want to try another prompt, or do we want to expand the premise here? I'm okay with either, but if we are doing a second sort of flash fiction story, we probably should get to it soon. Okay. I gotta vote for different, so now when I walk the street Jenna says teeth. All votes for no, do a different one. Okay, now when I walk the streets, I know how it feels to be put down. And I no longer troll. For I am troll. I am become trolled. Wait, what is it? I have become death destroyer of worlds. That's right. I have become destroyer of confidence. Jenna says in all caps, I am become troll. Okay. I was going to say if you guys give me a page number, I would go to it, but I just realized this thing doesn't have page numbers. Oh, Gloria Wu says, if, by the way, hello, Gloria. I welcome to the channel. Says, if you had a mouth foot, you could taste the sidewalk, but you might chip your foot mouth teeth. Are we going with mouth foot? Because we could do another body part. Like, it wasn't necessarily meant to be themed around body horror, but if you guys want to keep adding body parts to places... you could use the tongue to cushion your impact. You could be sort of like, you know how Jordans, they had that gimmick where you could inflate them, but it'd just be you putting your tongue out so that you can cushion your arches. Thanks everybody for coming by. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip to a random page because there's no page numbers, so I don't know how to involve you in this. I gotta admit, most of these are not very good. They're really getting into the foot, the details of the foots. Oh man. Some of these are already books. Like neighboring towns begin to feud over a dwindling water source. That's already a book. I don't know which book it is, but I know that it's already a book. Okay, guys, I found the next prompt, and I promise you, you do not know what's coming. I can't believe this is in here. I cannot believe this. This is amazing. Granddaughter borrows her grandma's cabin and turns it into a... Now I'm going to pause here for a minute, chat. Keeping in mind that you're on a bit of a delay here. I want everyone to guess what this prompt is saying that the granddaughter is going to turn her grandmother's cabin into. I want everybody to have a guess. If you get it right, you will be the hero of the night. A famous thing that we regularly do on this channel that is coveted, people love. A granddaughter borrows her grandma's cabin and turns it into a what? I'm going to mute, I'm going to have a little drink of water, and then I'm going to write what it is. All right. Again, I'm a little... You guys are on a delay, so I don't know what you've written yet, but... A meth lab. This is, again, from a book that I bought from Chapters. You know what I really like about these books, too? It's by the San Francisco Writers Grotto, which is just a collective of writers. But it has 642 stories to write. There's several of these books, and the numbers are always random. Always random. Like, it's always like 738 story prompts. Jenna says, I wanted to be something wholesome like a cat orphanage for wayward cats, but I bet it's like a drug den. Yeah! I do like the idea of cats running a meth lab, though. Is there a way is there something there? Is that something? Jenna wins. This is too realistic. It's only realistic if I do a good job at it and try to make it dramatic and realistic, which I'm not gonna do. Okay. So, a granddaughter borrows her grandma's cap and turns it into a meth lab. We could adjust it. How about this? Gloria Wu says it's a good thing it's a cabin. Living next to a math lab sucks. The smell and wall damage is awful. Yeah, it is. I used to live in a town that was once the meth capital of Canada. So don't get the impression that I come from nowhere. There was another time where it was in the running for having the most car thefts. What a great town. I miss it. The way that I miss my baby teeth. Okay, so we have some ideas coming in. Gloria says maybe instead of drugs, do something else that causes smells and wall damage. GS says adjust. Candy factory. Doesn't seem like borrowing at that point. Okay, so a owner's cat runs away to her cabin. And turns it into a catnip grow up. Everyone's saying Candy Factory. I got no drama from Candy Factory. I got nowhere to go with that. That's just... If we were doing drawings, that would work. But I need something that is going to create conflict here. For most of the time I owned her. No, we're going to put Smudge in it. Him. Smudge, where are you? He's sleeping under the table. For most of the time I owned him. Smudge. Was a decent cat. What are you complaining about, Google Docs? I don't need the of. I do need the a. For most of the time I owned him, Smudge was a decent cat. Not a good cat. No cat is. But he was a creature of minor habit. With a cuddle for a treat. And a nip for a pet. For patting. Petting? Patting? Patting. Too long? Batting? I said patting. Petting? Petting. Too long. He was sleek, black, and unlikely to ever take an unnecessary risk. Or so I thought. Ollie's House says, I thought Smudge was non-binary because cats are just liquid most of the time. No, he's a boy. He's a territorial, mouthy, needy little boy. If anything walks by our window, that's it. That's the next 2 days, just staring out windows, waiting for the next thing to go by. And we have a couple of things. We have another cat, and we have a skunk that occasionally walks through our yard, and woof. Everybody in the house needs to know. Very territorial little boy. It started when I realized that from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. It's a weird way to write it, Rory. Make weird decisions under pressure. I mean, I wouldn't say that this shows a huge amount of pressure, but it is like at least distracting is the better word. I don't feel that much pressure over it. And in that distraction, sometimes I just make strange decisions in writing. Like spelling out the letters for times. From 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. Smudge. Why am I not capitalizing this? Smudge would wiggle the lock loose and sneak out at night. The first time I noticed it, I was panicked. I thought he had run off, and I had left the door open. I was printing off wanted posters. Wanted's the wrong word. Lost. God, I think the edge of my nose is itchy again. Something about this show. I blame you, chat. You're tickling me through the monitor. I was printing off lost posters and sobbing on the phone to a friend when he coolly walked back in at 4 a.m. I changed the style of lock. And set up a motion sensor. But then I only learned 2 things. One, by the way, chat, ideas for the catnip story. Like, what's our conflict here? What are we going to discover? What is the final act of this? We only have about 10 minutes to make a story out of this. First, let's Smudge was abnormally clever. This is where it deviates from the real life character. Our cat's kind of dumber than an average cat. It's not the dumbest cat I've ever met. All these houses says it attracts cougars. That's a great idea. That Smudge was abnormally clever and could bypass almost any security. Second, that he was dragging out my gardening supplies. I tried to follow him once or twice, but he always was too quick in the blue midnight glow. Then one day, he didn't come back. By noon, I was terrified. I started searching the block. Gloria says Fantasy Smudge is really smart because the strain of catnip increases brain wrinkles in cats. A local big cat starts a mafia. Yeah. I think I know what we're doing for the ending then. As I run towards it. By noon I was terrified. I started searching the neighborhood. Frantically. I had all but given up. When I got a strange call. Hello? I said to my cell phone, sniffling still from how upset I was. Is this the owner of a cabin? I don't know what to call it, so I'm just saying the first thing that came to my mind on Breakfast Mountain. Cabin 484, said the voice. In an official way. Yes? Did something happen? I asked. Ma'am, we pondered 100 ways to explain this. But we've just concluded you should get here quick. Jenna says, I think that tracks. There's Sugarloaf Mountain where I live. And Dingle Bingle Hill? Oh, screw Breakfast Mountain. We're calling it Dingle Bingle Hill. That is way better. I can't believe that's real. Man, we pondered 100 ways to explain this, but we've just concluded you should get here quick. I mean, the voice said with sincerity. In the background, I could make out a sound not unlike 100 warring cats hissing and yowling. Well as breaking, well as pops and explosions. One of the mayors of the town I live in was a character who dressed like a pirate? Oh my god. It's way better than mine. I just live in a borderline gated community. It's like not actually, but it pretty much operates like one. With just people that get elected for tax cuts. In the background, I could make out a sound not unlike 100 warring cats hissing and yowling. I was down there as quick as I could get there. And as I crested the hill in my old Toyota, saw my cabin was a smoldering mess of blackened wood. A few cats were swatting at the air between them. All colors and types. But lying amongst the wreckage was a half dozen cougars. With pupils as wide as I've ever seen. The cops waved me over and said, well, now that you've seen it, here is the dealio. We think maybe, well, we thought you had to grow up for marijuana. But Jones there pointed towards his partner. Says it's actually catnip? So I'm guessing you were growing catnip. And somehow the cougars got wise? But I don't know how all the house cats got here. Of course, I couldn't correct him, but I knew immediately. Smudge had started a grow up, and what looked to be a sweet burning of my cabin for happy kitties was indeed the dawn of a terrible gang war. So, I guess I'm saying Smudge wasn't that good of a cat. He hasn't forgiven me. For barring up the door. But I just don't think it's proper to have a drug-dealing cat. Okay, here's one thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move the prompt to the bottom, so if somebody jumped ahead, they won't know exactly what it's about. All right, chat. So it's time for us to read back our stories. For those who skip ahead and don't watch live. Which, of course, is fine. Not everyone can. So if you're skipping ahead, what we did was we basically used 2 writing prompts we ended up using from this book. From the San Francisco Writers Grotto. Whoa, sorry about your ears. And I'm going to read you the 2 stories that me and chat wrote together. They're very silly. They mostly are here for lols. It wasn't even easy having a splayed foot, like a many-toed suction cup. I know what you're thinking. I've heard it all before, so spare me. But I guess I should paint a better picture. The front of my left foot is like any other foot. It has a bridge, an arch, 5 toes, except where the pinky and big toe end, the toes continue. They run a broad circle around my ankle. They ripple like a line of jellyfish tentacles when I wiggle them. The back, sides, front, and every angle away from my ankle on my left side is a foot with toes. Now you might wonder what kind of nuclear waste or genetic anomaly did it take? What kind of did it take to create me? Good old suction foot. The truth is I wasn't born this way. No, I was born with a need to sass, and that is where our story begins. I was a prolific online provocateur. Anyone who needed some perspective on their own self-importance, I was there to gift it to them with lol you mad bro memes. I was a pioneer of my craft. When the first tweets were sent, I was in the replies saying, "This place is kinda dead actually, lol." When the first vines were sung out into the void, I was the one responding, "Kinda pitchy bro." And when the TikTok competitor Bro Ho Ho came out, I was in the comments of the founder's first post saying, "Nice cankles, bro no. I didn't think much of it. It was just my craft. But alas, I received a direct message from Clark Big Guy, the founder, who just said, "May all your days have splayed legs until you correct the error of your ways." I muttered it to myself, though thought nothing more of it, and awoke to a horrifying mass of toes on my suction cup foot. Now when I walk the streets, I know what it feels like to be put down, and I no longer troll, for I have become trolled, destroyer of confidence. So you can see what I mean, very short little stories. Prompt 2, which I will tell you what it is at the end, because I think the story works better if you don't know. For most of the time I owned him, Smudge was a decent cat. Not a good cat. No cat is, but he was a creature of minor habit, with a cuddle for a treat and a nip for petting too long. He was sleek, black, and unlikely to ever take an unnecessary risk. Or so I thought. Oh, so I thought. It started when I realized that from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., Smudge would wiggle the lock loose and sneak out at night. The first time I noticed it, I was panicked. I thought he'd run off, and I had left the door open. I was printing off Lost posters and sobbing on the phone to a friend when he coolly walked back in at 4 a.m. I changed the style of lock and set up a motion sensor, but then I only learned 2 things. First, that Smudge was abnormally clever and could bypass almost any security, and second, that he was dragging out my gardening supplies. I tried to follow once or twice, but he was always too quick in the blue midnight glow. Then one day, he didn't come back. By noon, I was terrified. I started searching the neighborhood frantically. I had all but given up when I got a strange call. Hello? I said to my cell phone, sniffling still from how upset I was. "Is this the owner of a cabin on Dingle Bingle Hill, cabin 484? Said the voice in an official way. Yes. Did something happen? I asked. Ma'am, we pondered 100 ways to explain this, but we've just concluded that you should get here quick. The voice said with sincerity. In the background, I could make out a sound, not unlike 100 warring cats, hissing and yowling as pops and explosions went off. I was down there as quick as I could get there, and as I crested the hill in my old Toyota, I saw my cabin was a smoldering mess of blackened wood. A few cats were swatting the air between them, all colors and types, but lying amongst the wreckage was a half a dozen cougars with pupils as wide as I've ever seen. The cops waved me over and said, well, now that you've seen, here's the dealio. We think maybe, well, we thought you had to grow up for marijuana. But Jones there, he pointed towards his partner, says it's actually catnip. So I'm guessing you were growing catnip, and somehow the cougars got wise, but I don't know how all the house cats got here. Of course, I couldn't correct him. He wouldn't believe me. But I knew immediately. Smudge had started to grow up, and what looked to be a sweet burning of my cabin for happy kitties was indeed the dawn of a terrible gang war. So I guess what I'm saying is Smudge wasn't that good of a cat. An arbitrary comment in there. He hasn't forgiven me for barring up the door, but I just don't think it's proper to have a drug-dealing cat. And the prompt was an owner's cat run away to her cabin to turns it into a catnip grow-up. Actually, the prompt was a granddaughter uses her grandmother's cabin as a meth lab. Chat felt that was too serious. I thought that could be pretty silly, but they felt like it was too accurate. So we went with kitties and catnip. And that sort of silliness is exactly what we do on the Varietal Show. So a reminder, let me get it back up here. A reminder that we have our usual show next week, which is Thursday, 6:30. We have another Varietal Show. Tuesday, 6:30, we have our Fireside Fairy Tales, where I read old fairy tales by Fireside. And I mean, easily one of the more popular things I do. But Wednesday, for a limited run, we are going to be doing around the first 100 pages of the Broken Places for the Big Vancouver Book Club with me and Avalon. So if you like reading, or you want to, just the kind of person who wants to read more, it'll be focused on Vancouver writers, local writers, and just read those first few 100 pages and bring yourself and your thoughts to Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. next week, and join in live as a book club chat about this wonderful book. And we'll do a few episodes till we're done the book, and then we'll see how it does. And if people enjoy it, then we'll continue doing it with some other books, because I have some other books coming up from other friends that I will I think you'll enjoy. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It'll keep you notified as to when things go up. Also, thank you to Gloria, Jenna, GS, and Holly's House for all your help in writing the story this evening. I've really enjoyed talking to you all. I hope you guys come back. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Keep you up to date. And oh yes, and like if you liked the video. You don't have to if you didn't. You don't have to if you don't care. It just helps me out. That's all I have to say, I guess. So as per usual, I have to go cash out my store. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Get out of my shop.